This is Prep Test 74, Section 4, number 15. And an economist says, many of my colleagues are arguing that interest rates should be further lowered in order to stimulate economic growth. However, no such stimulation is needed. The economy is already growing at a sustainable rate. You know, I immediately would want to push back on that argument. The economist presented, already the economist has presented an argument, which is it's growing at a sustainable rate, therefore no further stimulation is needed. And my objection is, what if I want it to grow even faster? What? Why are you complacent? A sustainable rate, that's good enough for you? What if I want it to grow at an unsustainable rate? What if I'm a fascist and I'm trying to just take over and I want this thing to grow like gangbusters for 2 years so that I can take over the planet? What if I have an election coming up and my numbers suck and I need the stock market to go up? So I want to grow it at an unsustainable rate. I'm already unhappy with the economist's argument, which makes me feel like I'm probably on pretty solid footing as far as answering this question. Whenever I can push back on an argument, if I see what they're trying to prove and I see their evidence and I see that those two don't necessarily add up, then I already start to feel pretty good about my chances of answering the question. That's probably the gist of it. And then the economist says, so currently there's no reason to lower interest rates further. There, I would say, well, hold on a second. I already pushed back on the whole, like, we don't need to make the economy faster. And if I have to win an election, or if I'm just a fascist, or if I just want to get rich and I don't give a shit, then, you know, that argument holds no water for me. So I would push back and say, why not more? But furthermore, lowering interest rates, even though that would stimulate economic growth, what if I want to lower interest rates for other reasons that are completely unrelated to the economy? What if, again, I want to win an election, and what if I want to pander to students who are beleaguered by this mountain of debt that they're sitting under? And what if my response to that is, hey, I'm going to get the vote of all of these starving future lawyers who have $250,000 of law school debt, and I want to lower interest rates so that they can refinance their loans. And that's my campaign. And what if I'm doing it for reasons that are entirely unrelated to goosing the economy? So, okay. So does that make sense then? I have two different classes of objections here. I have the, what if I do want to goose the economy even more? And I have the, what about other reasons why I might want to lower interest rates just because I'm a good guy, or because I want to win an election, or because of whatever reasons. Like, I own bonds and I want to make myself rich. My friends own bonds and I want to make my friends rich. So I'm going to lower interest rates, which jacks the value of bonds. Anyway, the reasoning is questionable in that the argument, what? And I already have two pretty good objections. I think one of those is going to turn into the answer. A, does it rely solely on the testimony of experts? It actually doesn't do that. I mean, it mentions some colleagues, but it states the economy is already growing at a sustainable rate as a premise that is not attributed to experts. Anyway, it's an economist who's talking about what colleagues are saying, which, relying on the testimony of economists about the economy, is hard to say that that's a flaw. So I really don't see how A is a very good objection. B, does it confuse economic growth with what stimulates it? That seems to be kind of a bizarre answer. I guess you'd have to make a case for that, but that does not hold any attraction to me at all. I don't. What does that even mean? Confusing economic growth with the stimulation of economic growth? What? I don't follow. C, does it presume that a need to stimulate economic growth is the only possible reason to lower interest rates? It definitely did that, and that's 100% the answer. That was my second objection. When I read that final sentence and it said, so we shouldn't, there's no reason to cut interest rates, my immediate response was, what about all the other reasons besides goosing the economy that we might want to lower interest rates anyway for reasons? Like the interest rate right now is 6%, and I hate the number 6, and I want it to be 5. I don't know. I mean, that's a reason. It's a stupid reason, but it's a reason. And this argument definitely did assume that there can't be any other reason. That's why the answer here is going to be C. D says, takes what is merely one way of stimulating economic growth to be the only way of stimulating economic growth. It simply didn't do that. It said the economy's already going fine. Lowering interest rates would stimulate it, but we don't need to stimulate it, so let's not do it. You can't say that it did what D says, which is assuming that this is the only possible way to stimulate the economy. It just simply did not do that. E, did it conclude that a further reduction of interest rates would lead to sustainable economic growth merely from the fact that the economy is already growing at a sustainable rate? It didn't do that. It actually, so you might have filled in those blanks, but it didn't go that far. The argument didn't say if we stimulate it more, it will all of a sudden be unsustainable. It literally didn't say that. It only said it's growing sustainably now, so there's no reason to raise it. If you picked E, you're accusing the argument of doing something that it did not do. It just didn't go that far. You might have gone that far in your head, but the argument itself didn't go that far. And so a flaw question is an evidence-based type of question first. Did they do it? And is it a problem that they did it? And if you picked E, it's wrong because they just simply didn't do that.